Welcome to the Grower Workshop. Today, I will show you how to install our trim sets in 5 easy steps. There are 3 different types. In this case, it is the single lever mixer trim set. And the base is always this wonder box, which is installed first. First, exactly determine the later application and functional unit you want to use the SmartBox for, as this will be decisive for the further installation steps. The SmartBox is installed in or behind a wall, depending on the individual wall construction and the available insertion depth. The connection diagrams for the piping are on the front of the SmartBox. Here, the connection patterns differ depending on whether just one hand shower, a bathtub drain, or even, for example, a head shower is installed. Regardless of this, cold and warm water are always connected from below. Cold water on the right, warm water always on the left. In our case, we need this connection diagram. After the pipes have been correctly installed according to the specification and the wall has been plastered, the protective fleece is applied to prevent moisture penetration in accordance with DIN 18534. Afterwards, you can finish tiling the wall or refine it otherwise. Now it's time to install the single lever mixer trim set. First, let's take a look at the tools you will need. The box contains the functional unit with all the connecting parts and the trim set. By the way, taking a look at the instructions, which are also included, certainly doesn't hurt. Now we'll start with the installation. First, cut the SmartBox flush with the wall using a suitable tool. Then seal the gap between the wall and the SmartBox with silicone to prevent moisture from penetrating the wall. Speaking of moisture, the water should be turned off at the beginning of the installation, no later than when removing the flush unit. To do so, unscrew the fastening screws in the next step. Then carefully pull the flush unit out using a pair of pliers. An additional pair of pliers can be used here to prevent the flush unit from tilting unintentionally. Now pull the plastic stoppers out of the warm and cold water input so that all pipe parts can be rinsed out as far as the intake point, in accordance with regulations. After flushing, remount the flush units, open the water supply and flush the piping as far as the intake point. All pipes have now been flushed as far as the intake point. Afterwards, turn the water off again. The flush unit can now be removed and disposed of properly. Now it's time to actually install the functional unit. Grease it all round and push it into the SmartBox. Then fix gently using 2 screws. The functional unit should still be able to move so that the tap can be aligned precisely horizontally or even parallel to a tile joint later on. Next, screw 2 screws into the fixing plate as an adjustment aid. The screws should protrude out of the SmartBox as far as is necessary for a spirit level to be placed on top to align the unit precisely. The functional unit can later be aligned up to 6 degrees in both directions, which is a major advantage compared to other products. If the functional unit is aligned, tighten the fixing screws, alternating between them. Then screw in the other 2 screws. Now turn on the water and check that the unit is tight. Perfect. Now the 2 setting screws can be removed again and the cover cap placed over the single lever shower mixer cartridge and screwed in tight. Then mount the fixing plate with 4 screws. In the process, make sure that the screws are only tightened by hand, as otherwise the fixing plate could become deformed, which could later result in difficulties when assembling the chrome escutcheon. Next, place the isolation and fixing cap onto the cartridge adjustment lever and screw tight so that the flat side is facing downwards. The grub screw of the lever mount later presses against the flat side. Then mounts the escutcheon of the fixing plate flush with the wall. The lever handle can now be placed on the cartridge adjustment lever and fixed using the grub screw provided. You will need the 3mm Allen key here. Then seal the thread opening using the grey silicone plug. After installing the respective shower, the water can be turned on and the function test carried out. Perfect! Now it's time for the handover. Job done. Not so hard after all, right? You will manage it easily too.